Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I just want to talk to you about the new Salty Bear and this promo card that we're going to be dropped as a result of buying the Christmas sale packs for Chaos Legion. I guess first and foremost, I actually got 1,400 new packs from Chaos Legion. 1417 right there, which means I'm going to be entitled to a couple more of the Possibilis airdrops, as well as, I've already got those, as well as some of these werebears, which were revealed, the artwork, Arkemis the Bear. I heard talk that this was, people were like, he looks like a rat. He kind of does look like a rat. He kind of looks like the Secret of Nim. If you guys don't know what Secret of Nim is, man, first of all, old cartoon animated family films were used to be so, like, there was rich depth to, like, the story, and they weren't necessarily simple or cute. They were sometimes harsh and severe, but still for kids. Secret of Nim is a story that's like that, and I think you could probably go enjoy it now, even as an adult. And so check it out maybe. But I bring it up because, man, this Archimus looks like one of the rats from that movie, and I've heard people say he looks like a rat. Yeah, he kind of does. He also looks like a ferocious bear. I think it's really cool looking. I love the bling, the gold. It almost makes me think legendary though. And I know he's not legendary, he's common. We have the stats on this guy. And I just want to talk about this one for probably, let's say 5 to 8 minutes kind of thing. It'll be a shorter video. I haven't commented on this one yet. And I haven't prepared a video for yesterday, or for tomorrow rather, which will be December 13th. So this will be the one. And before I get into that, I just want to quickly also say, wow, end of year data has come through from YouTube telling me how much you guys have supported the channel. It's ludicrous. Like, just one of the stats is that 5.8 million minutes have been viewed on my channel. You guys have spent 5.8 million minutes hanging out with me, experiencing this topic with me, discussing Splinterlands, hearing what I have to say, coming back and forth, dropping your comments, engaging with this content in a massive way. That's literally 11 full years of life spent watching and listening to what I'm saying about this game. So 1, thank you. 2, that tells me amazing things about the passion that it still exists for Splinterlands. And that's, to me, points to like a strength that will hopefully hold us through the remainder of this crazy bear market, because you know, who knows when it's coming to an end. And there's things on the horizon, and there's still FTX stuff is still looming, and Bitcoin, is it going to go lower? And would that bring the altcoins? I don't know. It's not, I try to just say on all that stuff, and this will be the last point I'll make on the broader market. I try to just say, I believe in crypto for reasons that I've thought through long and hard. I believe in certain specific crypto projects, including Splinterlands, because of experience, because of joy, because of thoughtful analysis that led me to the position I took. And I'm not going to roll over on that in a moment of bear market while everything looks bad, because how many times have we heard Bitcoin is dead? And that sentiment, that idea, Bitcoin is dead, is essentially a philosophy that almost always pops up at the moment where things look their worst. And then what has always happened is it just comes back, and it's just another, resurrection, another Phoenix moment. I like Splinterlands. I believe in Splinterlands. I'm not shaken by kind of some of the macro conditions. I'm enjoying the game. I'm going to keep doing it, keep covering it. Looking forward to 2023 with you guys. And hopefully I don't know how it would be possible, but I love that I have this benchmark of data around where you guys how you've supported the channel this year. And I look forward to trying to challenge that next year and see where we go, how many subs we can get, how many likes, how many minutes viewed. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about Arkemis. So I just posted about Arkemis this morning, or earlier today, and Arkemis the Bear data. You guys have seen this, I'm sure. Other YouTubers have covered this. I watched, I want to say 2 minutes of Tales covering Arkemis, and I said to myself, you know what? I haven't properly thought through my own opinions, so I just turned off his video. Love Tales. Guys, check him out. If you don't watch Tales from the Cryptmancer, definitely support him. and watch his videos. He's got amazing content, but I didn't want his opinions to flavor mine before I even commented on things, or before I even thought through what I had to say about this topic. And so this is my first real thought on this card. But as you can see, 3 hours ago I posted, how is this card not overpowered? Best common in the game, yes or no? Splinterlands, hashtag Splinterlands. I mean, and somebody I want to say in today's town hall, which I haven't watched yet. Things have been crazy because it's the Christmas season. I work for a church. Christmas is a very special time for Christian church, and so it's just crazy busy. I saw somebody covering that they tweaked the looks on Arkemis, and he's got less of the furriness up here, which is part of why I said he kind of looked like a rat. So he does look more bear-esque. So that's an improvement. And then two, from the data side or from the stat side, man, he looks amazing to me. I know this is not 100% yet. I don't think this strikes me as overpowered. And I've heard, it might have been Hawks, recently watching a Hawks video, Hawks21, and he was talking about how we can't necessarily know how powerful a card is until we actually get our hands on it, and we spend time with it, and we see the synergies between that card and others. And I think that's true. So I want to say with a grain of salt, I think this card's overpowered. But I can see, what's the word, like a certain discontinuity with the stats on this card. And this was from a comment in here from, let's give a shout out. Was it Yuki? Yeah, Yuki mentions great card, but not convinced about having plus force field. So 5 attack turns into 2, and 2, so you get more damage if you cut the 5 damage in half, right? So because of the force field, if your opponent hits you with a 5, you're going to receive 1 damage. But then if you have your opponent's damage from 5 down, you're actually going to receive a greater amount of damage. So your halving is actually, in some sense, an impediment to Arkemis the Bear. True. But I don't know that that's going to be the rule. I think that's going to be more of a... That's going to be the exception to how that mechanic plays. Because consider, even at the diamond level, the champion level, consider how many cards have 5 or more damage. It's not every card. Is it 10% of cards? I haven't done the math. But it's not every card. It feels like maybe 10 to 15%. That's my guess. Off the top of my head, 10 to 15%. 1 out of 10 cards, or 15 out of 100 cards in Splinterlands, I bet has more than 5 damage output. It's not common. It's still quite rare. And we could quickly look at peak monsters, but I don't want to go down too far down that rabbit hole. Suffice it to say, it's not most cards. And as a result, it's not most cards that will be dropping those 5 bombs on you, where simultaneously you're targeting them. So we're talking first position, right? If you're playing Arkemis the Bear in first position like a tank, or even second position, which I think might be a really advantageous way to play it, second position using that secondary tank reach through Possibilis, the water summoner, you could take advantage of the halfling, you could take advantage of the protect, you could take advantage of a second main tank from that second position with a good amount of damage output with the 4 melee. I think this is a great secondary tank in those high mana matches, and I think he could really help in that way. But even if you don't bring in Possibilis and you think, okay, you're fighting from the first position with your Arkemis the Bear, and you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to cut their damage in half. Like I said, there's only a small amount of cards that have 5 or more damage. And then not only that, but don't just look at the cards that would be a main tank that you would be up against, that would be in that first position, right? Because that's the only one you're going to strike, and that's the only one you're going to have their damage output for, and that's the only one, therefore, you're going to be impeded by through your halving. So I think that's going to be a pretty niche concern, but it is a concern, and it is in some ways like a discontinuity in this kit. The Enrage in combination with 4 damage output is pretty significant. The Force Field, is always a great damage reduction ability. I really like Force Field. And Force Field, I've talked to you before about how I think certain abilities increase in value as the game goes on, because of the nature of that ability and how it synergizes or is triggered because they can the amount of frequency with which it is triggered can increase. And you can imagine things like Giant Killer, or I'm going to say Force Field, are going to be more and more often triggered, because there's going to be more, as we get more and more cards in this game, there are going to be a few additions to cards that are bigger than 10. Those are Giant Killers, 10 mana or more, or cards that have a greater damage output than 5. Even if it's one new 5 damage output card per, per rebellion and then the next kit, right? Like, even if it was only one, and it's not, it'll be 3 or 4 different cards at every single kit level, at every expansion pack release. But even if it was just one, that's like one more card that's going to trigger Arkemis's becoming more and more influential, more and more important, because Force Field becomes even more and more important. I hope you see that. That's one of those abilities, and Giant Killer is another one of them. We've talked about that one before, and it's not applicable to this context, but just notice how certain abilities are necessarily going to become more and more and more effective, because they're going to have more and more triggers that provoke that ability to take effect and provide benefit to your team. Force Field is, in my opinion, one, maybe it's possibly the most powerful, if not, maybe I don't want to say powerful, maybe it's the most, in my opinion, desirable damage reduction tool that one can have in this game, especially in the context here with Archimus being a giant himself. So, being a giant, you can be giant killed. If somebody double damages you through giant kill, now, I'm just trying to rack my mind, and I think I know the answer now. I was wondering, if your tank does 3 damage, and then you have giant kill, and you hit me for 6, would the force field trigger? And the answer is no, it will not. The force field, the giant kill is impeded by force field only if the initial attack is greater than 5, because the force field procs when the initial attack, the base attack, is greater than 5 or more. And so there'll be contexts where where the force field won't, I guess, help Archimus, and the giant kill might not benefit. But man, would this thing could be so easily deletable if certain cards, like, I'm just thinking one off the top of my head here with the fire team. It's a magic. Look, let's go like this. Giant. Yeah, this guy here, Inferni. The Inferni is kicking out 3 damage from the magic perspective, and 3 with the giant kill becomes 6. And even though that's 6, it's not triggering the force field, because the giant kill ability. Yeah, that's how it works. It's the giant kill ability will trigger after the force field has a chance to stop you. And so 3 will become 6, and you're going to slap the Archimus pretty hard. But the thing about, over here, the thing about the bear is he's still got 12 hit points. So 12 hit points, and you got the armor too, which can protect you in certain contexts with certain rule sets, or even depending on whether your giant kill is a melee or an archery. Is it perfect? Is it impervious? Is it flawless? No. Its vulnerability is going to be damage reduction. I think force field is probably the best of all damage reductions, because it potentially stops those really crushing, amazing, like one-shot kills. But it's still susceptible to magic. It's still susceptible to to general giant kills. It's still susceptible to poison, because it doesn't have any self-heal or anything like that, or cleanse. But yeah, I think, and I said this a few minutes ago, I think this could be an interesting combination with Possibilis, which would open the floodgates and opportunity for this thing to sit in the second position, where some of that lack of damage reduction becomes irrelevant, and yet the damage output is substantive. 4, and this thing, if picture a poison rule set, noxious fumes, you've got 12 hit points, you come out of the gate, your bear is poisoned. At the end of the first turn, he's going to take a poison, so he's going to go from 10 to 12 hit points. Therefore, the enrage is going to proc. You're going to go from 4 damage to, I think, 6. If you had any inspire, it goes up even faster. I think it'd be 1 inspire return you to 5 naturally, and I think 8 after the enrage. So the bear is going to hit hard, and having is going to factor in quite a bit. You're going to be super pleased that you have that. Not to mention, this is the second card that has this, I believe. There might be a gladiator. I think there's a gladiator that has this, but in terms of the general rank rule set, there really is only the halfling alchemist and then Arkemis the bear. And protect is so good, it's so valuable, and especially in those rule sets where, weak magic. So I think this card is generally quite resilient, has a very significant hit pool. It's a force field is one of those abilities that will get better with age because of the increased number of cards that have 5 or more damage output. It's good. This thing's going to hit well, man. This thing's going to cause a lot of damage. It's got good speed at 4. I think this card probably needs a nerf. This is a common card. I think it plays, or it's listed currently more like an epic or a legendary in my mind. But it's a great it's amazing that we have a new card that will be common. It's also interesting that I saw the stats. I don't know where they are anymore, but I saw the stats around the Archimus showing some of the lower level ability descriptions and whatnot. And I think this strikes me as it might have been Tails actually. Tails showed the data from the test server on Archimus. And we saw at what level he gets protect, at what level he gets enrage, etc. At lower levels, I think you're going to be happy with a card like this in bronze, silver, gold, at those various levels. It's one of those cards that's going to contribute a lot, but I really love it in particular at the top tier where you're going to get this full kit. I think this is going to lean well with the new Possibilis opportunities. I think this is a great example of how a main tank can be even better when it gets the opportunity to enjoy a reach through Possibilis. And so I like this card a lot. I don't, I say it's overpowered in my tweet here. I don't really believe it's overpowered. I do think it's strong. I do think for a common, they could pull it back a little and still be a fair card. I wonder if maybe you could even lose a melee. Maybe you do go down to 3 and you keep the speed, or maybe you nerf the speed by 1 or 2. That would hurt it quite a bit. If you lost 2 speed and kept it at 4 melee, I think that's still a strong card. For a common, that's probably still a strong card. I love that it's got 12 hit points because, again, divisible by 3, you're going to heal 4 per turn if you have a triage or a heal that's going to support this thing. I think you're going to be pleased if you earn this card, if you buy this card. And because of the common status and because of how frequently it's being issued at 1 for every Chaos Legion pack that have been bought through the Christmas sale, is going to translate to a free Archimus. I mean, it's just a bonus on top of the pack you're already enjoying. And then I think this probably carries a 10 to a 20 cent value per BCX. And so I just bought 1,400 Chaos Legion packs. I'm going to get 1,400 Archimus BCX. It's going to be a common, therefore I'm going to divide that by 400 to ascertain how many full copies I'm going to be able to acquire. And if I don't want to do full copies, I can probably get 20 copies that are going to rock in silver or in maybe 10 in gold or something like that for rental purposes. So I think this is going to end up being a card that we want. I think it's quite powerful. I definitely think it has a lot of potential for fitting within the future meta as I imagine things growing, and Giant Killer is going to continue to be a more and more powerful tool. And this is one more example of how that has been true. And I think what I said also about Force Field is going to be true. So recognize that as an ability in this kit that's just going to kind of age like a fine wine here. You're going to see more and more benefit from that Force Field. And so, yeah, I like it a lot. What do you guys think? Drop comments below. Let me know what you think. And is this a sort of card with these sort of stats that's going to actually provoke you into buying more of those Chaos Legion packs? We have until, I think, was the 29th? I forget what the cutoff date for the Chaos Legion Christmas sale was, but it's not over yet. So are you still buying? And and Possibilis, man, I haven't really even enjoyed him yet. What are you thinking about that experience too? Let me know in the comments below. Have an amazing day. God bless.